Few institutions on earth inspire as much fascination, controversy, loyalty, and confusion as the British royal family, an ancient system that still exists in a modern democratic world, blending medieval tradition with contemporary celebrity, political neutrality with immense symbolic power. And to truly understand the royal family, we need to strip away tabloid drama and ceremonial pageantry and look at what it actually is, how it works, why it survives, and why it continues to matter to millions of people around the globe. Because the British monarchy is not simply a family of wealthy individuals wearing crowns, but a constitutional institution shaped by more than 1,000 years of history, evolving from absolute rule into a carefully constrained role defined by law, custom, and public expectation. And at its core, the royal family exists to support the crown, which is not just a person, but a legal and symbolic embodiment of the state, meaning that while the monarch may change, the crown itself represents continuity, stability, and national identity. And today, the monarch serves as the head of state of the United Kingdom, and separately as the head of state of several Commonwealth realms, including countries like Canada and Australia, while holding no direct political power, operating instead under a constitutional monarchy where elected officials govern and the sovereign reigns but does not rule. And this balance is the result of centuries of conflict, reform, and compromise, stretching back to moments like the Magna Carta in 1215, which first limited royal authority, the English Civil War of the 1600s, which led to the execution of a king, and the Glorious Revolution of 1688, which firmly established parliamentary supremacy, shaping the modern monarchy we recognize today. And within this system, the royal family functions both as a working institution and a symbolic one, with its members performing official duties on behalf of the monarch, including representing the nation at state events, supporting charitable organizations, hosting foreign leaders, and maintaining diplomatic relationships, all while remaining strictly politically neutral, a requirement that often frustrates modern observers, but is essential to preserving public trust and constitutional balance. And at the top of this structure is the reigning monarch, currently the king, who inherits the throne through a line of succession governed by law, with modern rules prioritizing gender equality among heirs, a change that reflects how the monarchy adapts slowly but deliberately to social change. And the monarch's daily role involves reviewing government documents, meeting regularly with the Prime Minister, granting royal assent to legislation, and serving as a focal point during moments of national celebration or crisis, but always acting on advice, never personal political preference. And beneath the monarch are senior working royals, typically including the monarch's spouse, the heir to the throne and their spouse, and a limited number of close relatives who carry out public duties, a structure that has been intentionally slimmed down in recent years to reduce costs and reflect public expectations, while more distant relatives increasingly live private lives without official roles, despite retaining titles or royal heritage. And titles themselves are a source of frequent confusion because they are not simply honorifics but part of a hierarchical system rooted in the peerage, with ranks such as duke, duchess, prince, and princess conveying status, responsibility, and historical lineage, though titles do not necessarily come with political authority or wealth, as many royal assets are held by the crown rather than individuals, including famous properties managed through institutions like the Crown Estate, whose profits are largely returned to the public treasury in exchange for funding the monarchy's official work, a financial arrangement designed to ensure transparency and public accountability. And one of the most misunderstood aspects of the royal family is its wealth, because while royals live in palaces and are surrounded by luxury, much of what appears personal is actually state-owned, maintained for national use, tourism, and heritage preservation. While the monarchy's public funding is subject to parliamentary oversight, debate, and periodic reform, reflecting ongoing tensions between tradition and modern standards of accountability, and culturally, the royal family functions as a living symbol, embodying continuity in a rapidly changing world, with rituals like coronations, royal weddings, and jubilees serving as shared national moments that link past and present, creating a sense of collective memory even among those who criticize the institution. And that criticism is significant, because the monarchy has never existed without opposition, facing scrutiny over colonial history, privilege, relevance, and cost, especially in a multicultural society increasingly focused on equality and transparency. And yet, polls and public discourse suggest that support for the monarchy often endures not because of blind loyalty, but because many people see it as a stabilizing, nonpartisan institution that provides continuity above politics, particularly during periods of uncertainty. And globally, the royal family's influence extends far beyond Britain through the Commonwealth, a voluntary association of nations with historical ties to the British Empire, where the monarch's role varies widely, from ceremonial head of state to purely symbolic figure, and debates continue within these countries about whether to retain or remove the monarchy, highlighting how royal influence today is negotiated rather than imposed. And in the modern media age, the royal family also exists as a global spectacle, scrutinized around the clock by traditional press and social media alike, a reality that has transformed royal life dramatically, increasing transparency, but also pressure, intrusion, and public misunderstanding, especially when private family conflicts become public narratives. And historians often note that the monarchy's greatest challenge in the 21st century is not political revolution, but cultural relevance, balancing dignity with accessibility, tradition with empathy, and restraint with authenticity. And when we step back and look at the royal family as a whole, what emerges is not a fairy tale or a conspiracy, but a carefully managed institution shaped by history, law, symbolism, and public consent. One that survives not because it is powerful in the traditional sense, but because it has learned to evolve just enough to remain meaningful. And whether one views the monarchy with admiration, indifference, or criticism, understanding how it works reveals something deeper about Britain itself, its past, its identity, and its ongoing negotiation between heritage and modernity. And in that sense, the royal family is less about crowns and castles, and more about how a nation chooses to remember its past while navigating its future. And if there is another royal figure, historical era, or institution you would like explained with the same clarity, let me know in the comments, because history becomes far more compelling when we understand not just what exists, but why it endures. And thank you so much for watching.